On paper, the case was closed. Carbon fiber hulls were constructed to tolerances measured in fractions of a millimeter, shaped by computational fluid dynamics software that required 4 decades of processor development to make possible. Carbon fiber, optimized structure, and precision manufacturing changed the conversation. Keel bulbs were optimized through simulation runs, testing thousands of hull form variations before a single mold was cut. Sail inventories were replaced each season, each new set costing more than a working sailor paid for his entire boat in 1969. The scale of investment was astonishing. The naval architects had done the math. The offshore racing establishment had reached its consensus. Modern performance yachts were the product of 6 decades of continuous engineering advancement and were categorically superior to anything the previous generation produced. Every year, the marine industry delivers the same message to the sailor who bought a classic offshore design. That boat is finished as a competitive weapon. Every marina conversation, every broker recommendation, every sailing press cover story about the next generation of offshore technology carries the same verdict. The old boats are obsolete and the new ones are faster. The Newport Bermuda Race has been running its own counter-argument since 1906. It is 635 nautical miles from Newport, Rhode Island, to the island of Bermuda. It is the oldest regularly scheduled ocean race in the world and one of only 2 races held almost entirely out of sight of land. Every 2 years, the race's largest amateur division sends between 85 and 108 boats across that course on handicap-corrected time. The St. David's Lighthouse Trophy goes to the overall corrected time winner among those amateurs. Not the first boat across the line, but the boat that sailed the course most efficiently against its handicap rating. In every confirmed race since 2006, that trophy has been won by a boat designed before 1970. The industry said, "Sell." The ledger does not lie, and it has not lied in 18 years of racing. Subscribe to Yachts and Boats. We read the results. On the morning of June the 25th, 2024, Roy Disney's Pyewacket 70 crossed the finish line off St. David's Lighthouse at 1:37 in the morning. Line honors the professional fleet's signature moment for the 53rd running of the race. 38 hours later, a different boat arrived. She crossed just after 3 o'clock in the morning with a corrected time of 2 days, 16 hours, and 12 minutes. Her name is Carina. She is a 48-foot aluminum sloop. The firm McCurdy and Rhodes drew her lines in August of 1968. Pash Marine built her the following year, commissioned for the Admiral's Cup. Her displacement is 34,200 pounds. She carries no canting keel, no asymmetric sails, and no hull laminate developed in the last 5 decades. She has 5 Newport Bermuda Race wins: 1970, 1982, 2010, 2012, and 2024. More than any hull in the 118-year history of the event, across 6 different decades of offshore racing. Her owner, Reeves Potts of Westbrook, Connecticut, was not aboard for the 2024 finish. He met the crew at the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club dock. Skipper W. Barrett Holby described the campaign afterward. "Great food, great navigation, great sailors, great helmsmen. Everything came together. Not every sailor who has been told to upgrade has sold. Some held on to their 1968 sloop, their 1971 ketch, their 1965 production racer, through decades of dealer recommendations and marina conversations and sailing press coverage that declared their design category obsolete. The Newport Bermuda Race is the longest-running answer to what happens when those boats are sailed by capable crews across 635 miles of open ocean against the most sophisticated equipment money currently produces. The St. David's Lighthouse Division corrected time record since 2006 reads as follows. 2006, Sin Fine, a Cal 40, designed in 1963. 2008, Sin Fine. Again, back-to-back, the same design 45 years after its lines were drawn. 2010 and 2012, Carina, consecutive wins. 2014, Actaea, a modified Bermuda 40 based on a design from the 1950s. a boat that had finished dead last in the same race 18 years before, improved systematically by its owners over 2 decades. 2018, Grundun, a Columbia 50 built in 1968. 2022, Illusion, a Cal 40, 59 years after Bill Lapworth drew the original lines. 2024, Carina again. 8 confirmed races since 2006. In every one, the corrected time winner was a boat designed before 1970. The Actia entry in that list is worth stopping on. Mike and Connie Cohn first entered the Newport Bermuda Race in 1996 aboard their Bermuda 40. They finished dead last. Over the following 18 years, they reshaped the keel, redistributed the ballast, modified the centerboard trunk, and adjusted the rudder. They went back to the same race year after year. In 2014, they finished first in the division among 96 boats. Not a lucky result. A documented return on 18 years of accumulated understanding of a specific hull. The Cal 40 that won in 2006, 2008, and 2022 is available on the used market today for between $68,000 and $164,000. When the Cal 40 first appeared in 1963, the offshore establishment could not accept it. Multiple boat builders declined to construct the design. The hull was considered too light, too flat-bottomed, and too extreme in its fin keel configuration for serious offshore work. The first Cal 40 entered the 1964 Southern Ocean Racing Conference and won it outright. Cal 40s took positions 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th in the 1966 Newport Bermuda Race. They won the Transpac in 1965, 1967, and 1969. Their crews were sometimes teenagers. The boats they defeated were sailed by professionals aboard designs the establishment had considered the natural successors to offshore racing. The establishment declared the Cal 40 era over, superseded by new rating rules and modern hull technologies. Then, it won the Newport Bermuda Race again in 2006, and 2008, and 2022. Thomas Fleming. Day founded the Newport Bermuda Race in 1906 to encourage the designing, building, and sailing of small, seaworthy yachts, and to develop in the amateur sailor a love of true seamanship. He built the race specifically as a counter-argument to the belief that offshore sailing belonged only to large, expensive boats owned by wealthy men. 118 years later, the race's largest amateur division is still producing the same counter-argument every 2 years. In the same 2024 race where Carina won the amateur division, the professional Gibbs Hill Lighthouse Division was won by Summer Storm 52, a TP-52 built in 2015 by Premier Composites Technologies, carbon composite hull, pre-preg laminate construction with foam and Nomex core. A new TP-52 costs approximately $3 million to build. Running one at the Super Series competitive level costs approximately $2 million per year. The annual sale budget to remain competitive at that level runs between $350,000 and $400,000. A single carbon mainsail costs $47,000. Summer Storm won the professional division of the 2024 Newport Bermuda Race and was listed for sale immediately afterward. Carina came home as the most winning hull in the history of the oldest offshore race in the world. The pattern is not accidental. The mechanism lives between Newport and Bermuda, inside a body of moving warm water that no velocity prediction model has fully captured. The Newport Bermuda Race has used the Offshore Racing Rule, ORR, for handicapping since 1978. The ORR generates a time correction factor for each entry through a velocity prediction program, VPP, a mathematical model of each hull's expected performance across the full range of wind speeds and angles the course encounters. The VPP generates its predictions from characteristics that can be measured before the race starts: waterline length, beam, draft, sail area, displacement, stability index. The VPP has no input field for the routing decision made by a navigator who has crossed the Gulf Stream in this race 7 times and knows which cold core eddy to thread. It cannot account for 50 years of accumulated knowledge about how a specific hull behaves in the conditions that appear in the second week of June between latitude 32 and 37 north. The ORR produces a rating for a theoretical crew. The classic boats bring an actual one. The race committee's official statement on the ORR is precise. It does not favor old designs, new designs, classics, or high-tech downwind flyers. It does not reward expensive boat reconfigurations. It encourages a well-prepared boat with a capable crew. The handicap system was not written to protect classic boats. It was designed to equalize every entry across variable conditions and let performance produce the outcome. The only conclusion consistent with 18 years of results is that the 60-year-old designs are winning on merit. The race course crosses the Gulf Stream within the first 48 hours. The Gulf Stream is a river of warm water flowing northeast at up to 5 knots. Its cold core eddies and meanders shifting position between race editions and between days within a single edition. A navigator who has studied the satellite data and the prior forecasts can find the favorable meander. A boat that cannot carry the momentum to reach that meander before it shifts is sailing a different race than the one the VPP modeled. Where Gulf Stream water meets the opposing Atlantic swell, it builds a steep, short chop superimposed on ocean swell, a sea state that destabilizes light, stiff hulls trying to maintain efficient sail trim, and drives the performance boats off their rated speed curves. The 2024 race saw a series of frontal systems move through during the start sequence, producing light and variable conditions out of Newport. Boats that needed breeze to establish their polars never found it in the early miles. North of Bermuda, the subtropical Bermuda High extends its dome over the course. The racing community calls the consequence the parking lot. Fast boats enter the light air first. The time correction that was supposed to compensate for their speed was calculated against wind conditions that no longer exist by the time those boats arrive. A TP52 generates its rated performance through apparent wind sailing in the 12 to 20 knot range, speed that compounds into further speed as the boat accelerates into its own breeze. In 5-knot air on Gulf Stream chop, it is neither planing nor pointing, unable to build the apparent wind its handicap assumes, stalling in a sea state its hull form was not built for. The days it spends in that condition are not recoverable on corrected time. The correction that appeared favorable in the VPP calculation does not cover hours spent drifting. The heavy displacement hull does not plane. It was never designed to. It moves through 5-knot air without stalling, maintains speed in chop without losing trim, and holds momentum across countercurrent without the speed collapse that stops the performance fleet. Its TCF was calculated assuming it would be slow. In the conditions the Gulf Stream and the Bermuda High consistently produce, it is not. Carina carries 34,200 pounds and 1,063 square feet of sail area, built for the conditions of the 1969 Admiral's Cup rather than for a rating model. The Cal 40's 15,000 pounds in a 39-foot hull, its substantial lateral keel area, and flattish underwater sections that resist hobbyhorsing in steep chop, Lapworth drew those characteristics for offshore conditions in 1963. The race has been confirming his judgment every 2 years since. In 2024, the Newport Bermuda Race became the first offshore event in the world to implement forecast time-corrected scoring, adjusting each boat's handicap based on the actual predicted weather the fleet would sail through, rather than the theoretical average the VPP assumes. The system was designed specifically to reduce bias against fast boats trapped in the parking lot. Carina won the first race run under that system. The updated methodology produced the same result. Which part of that record matters more to you, the $3 million cost of the boat that won the professional division, or the year the boat that won the amateur trophy was designed? The most significant detail in the record is not a boat. It is a winter morning in Chester, Pennsylvania in 2008, and a man on a frozen marina dock with an axe. The water was up to the bunks in the main cabin. Jim Grundy came aboard to find his father's boat sunk at its moorings, the ice locked around the hull overnight. He chopped through it to reach the pump. Grundoon is a Columbia 50 built in Costa Mesa, California in 1968. Jim Grundy's father, James, purchased the boat new that year and entered it in the 1972 Newport Bermuda Race, one of the most punishing editions in the event's history. The year a severe storm swept the fleet. He raced it again across the decades that followed, through the changes in boats and rating rules and fleets that the sport produced. When his health declined, the boat sat unattended at the dock. It sank. His son did not sell it. The restoration took 10 years. In 2017, Grundoon received a carbon mast and new sails, prepared specifically for the 2018 race. Jim Grundy assembled a crew that included his daughter and 2 sons. Out of 169 starters, 166 finished. Grundoon won the St. David's Lighthouse Division, first on corrected time among 85 boats in the amateur fleet, a 50-year-old family boat raised from the seabed, sailed by 3 generations to the finish line in Bermuda. At the prize-giving ceremony at Bermuda's Government House, Jim Grundy said, "This win is for the family." Thomas Fleming Day founded the Newport Bermuda Race in 1906 with a stated purpose: to encourage the designing, building, and sailing of small, seaworthy yachts, and to develop in the amateur sailor a love of true seamanship. The professional fleet of 2024 contains boats costing $3 million to build and $2 million per year to run. Campaigns are managed in boardrooms, sail budgets are reviewed by sponsors, and competitive seasons are measured in rate of return. The amateur division returned a 55-year-old aluminum sloop as the most winning hull in the event's history. A 59-year-old production racer, rebuilt from a damaged hull, sailed to a corrected time win more than 2 hours clear of the field. A 50-year-old family boat raised from the seabed by a son who chopped through ice on a winter morning because selling it was not a consideration. Whether these results reflect the fundamental fairness of the ORR, the specific demands of the Gulf Stream crossing, or something about what 50 years of sailing the same hull on the same course accumulates in a crew's ability to read the conditions, the race itself has not issued a final ruling. 18 years of corrected time results have. If that is the kind of case Yachts and Boats makes, subscribe.